Good morning. Today we got on our program two feuilletons that's been written this week and not gonna be laid out in the Zimbabwe Sport magazine next week on Monday. So that is the first release. Both feuilletons were written by me, Andrei, Hamster Shatalov, and will be narrated by me too in several minutes. Both feuilletons is a fictional satire that is not intended to be any kind of a criticism or reference to reality. It is only intended as a completely fictitious material. The first feuilleton is called Bluetooth, and that has a number 352 since July 2017. That is scheduled as a fictional interview of a chief of a computer repair and upgrade firm to Zimbabwe Sport magazine. Magazine. Good morning. Do you operate in Moscow? A chief of a computer repair and upgrade firm. Yes. Magazine. What does your firm offer? Chief of a computer firm. Various examination and repair of broken and glitching computers. Magazine. What are details that amaze you most? A chief. A number of models that bear embedded spy functions. Looks like this world does not have any idea about fidelity, loyalty, and faithfulness to customers who pay reasonable amounts for such shitty equipment. Magazine. What manufacturers are common for such shitty stuff? A chief of firm. Oh, every. Magazine. Does this expression mean that we use similar models in the USA? Chief. Yes, fully. Magazine. Who is the leader of world's rating of most customer loyal manufacturers in your opinion? Do you get my input? Chief of a computer firm. I always thought that Hewlett-Packard is the best manufacturer against world's background. Magazine. What types of spy functions do you need while doing examination? Chief of firm. Total coverage that turns a computer into a thin client. The thin client isn't a computer at all. This is a terminal that displays data traffic which connects it with another gigantic base station which keeps most of data. Does main processing and in fact is client's real but distant computer despite they believe that they possess an individual acting unit. Maxim. How many, in fact, thin clients have you found in your practice of repair? Chief of a firm. It is easy to outline statistical estimates. Each year, as time goes, we see an increasing number of such units which don't possess usual classical hardware features like hard disk, sufficient RAM memory, math processor, and etc. Max. What are retail markets where gray manufacturers offer such terminals? Chief of firm. Africa, South America, Central Asia, poor countries, and Europe. Magazine. What percentage of pseudo computers is a practical figure in Russia today? Chief firm. Theory of new and almost each second-hand unit. Magazine. How much do such terminals cost? Chief of firm. These abridged versions of their full independent powerful analogous are truly for still. It is possible to find something like notebook, HDD 2 terabytes, parallel processor 0.36 GHz, cache memory 100 gigabytes, screen full HD 1400 per 900 pixel for $2,800. In fact, such features are factually met by hardware parts only with respect to the resolution and achievable speed of calculations. When we open the device up, we see no pre-declared HDD, no processor except for a video card and other secondary attributes of an independent computing unit. Magazine. How does it operate? Chief firm. Broad band of several obvious declared kinds like LTE or 4G or 2-free hidden shade modems that provide for same fast speed data exchange with mobile operators and or satellites. Such units show great power consumption that is required for long range, include space uplink. Therefore, in the event the unit is taken outside the zone of stable mobile coverage, it is designed to establish a workable connection with communication satellites. Though this option is deemed to be rarely used as proposed too much of cost for hot iron makers. Magazine. Where did you personally see such models on sale? Chief firm. In Lima, Peru, in La Paz, Bolivia, in Cairo, Egypt, in Afghanistan, in India, in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya. I guess that such we face a ninth wave of corrupted units that have flooded world's trade centers and e-shops. Magazine. Who does make such equipment and why? Chief firm. Many manufacturers. Magazine. Does Hewlett Packard know about such things? Chief of firm and Shell. Magazine. What about IBM and Dell? Chief firm. They must be aware of such social distortions too. Magazine. Are you guaranteed to score if you buy a licensed homeland-made unit in a respectable store in the USA? Chief of firm. Depending on your equipment, witness, power of observance, and technical skills, you are definitely guaranteed from any misfortune where you choose cheap version of HP, IBM, or Dell. Magazine. Are you sure? In what percent of cases? Chief of firm. Each economical model must provide such terrific features, like it says in its manual. Magazine. What about Apple? Chief firm. Only where you are in Saudi Arabia or around. Apple is what is my individual opinion. An outsider in other markets is all similar preppy manufacturers who are squeamish to deal with chipsters. Magazine. Does the US federal government buy the terrific computers? Chief of firm. We exist in the aftermath of the US fashion. This means that we may judge on what happened there 10 years ago when used units reached our markets as second-hand offers. Our analysis is always late for 10 years. Magazine. What did happen on the US personal computers market 10 years ago? Chief of firm. It was blown by super cheap, super powerful models. Now we broke various roof windows in our building where we have a solid metal tent roof. This maneuver we had to do was to improve speed tests that were given to such models in our hands for repair. Magazine. Is that architectural spruce up good enough to see them when it is a dark out? Chief of firm. You are kidding. In fact, I don't see spacecrafts on orbit when peep out the roof windows. Magazine. What is the most popular double-decker slide standard function? Chief firm. Bluetooth. Magazine. Why? Chief. Because I didn't see any lazy bomber hobo. I heard nothing but the king of Sweden. Magazine. I guess you are very wrong. This historical excursion is about the king of Denmark, who reigned 1,000 years ago, stabbing sirloin steaks by his front blue fan. Magazine. No. The Bluetooth technology was pioneered by Swedish Ericsson, who wished to free world of cables that love to entangle on necks of white collars. Magazine. How many Bluetooth radio modems are corrupted? Chief of a firm. I think I might be wrong. That is close to 100%. Magazine. Why? Chief firm. It was done to ease one's hard life. It does suit its purpose fully. Magazine. What about keyboards, mice, and headsets? Chief of firm. Is equally as with the Bluetooth. Magazine. Examples, please. Question mark. Chief of firm. I got a superstation in Moscow in a branded shop. It had a keyboard made in China under standards of a manufacturer. The computer was made in Central Europe. I threw away 15 radio parts and provided equal and stable performance on the keyboard. Magazine. What about computer screens? Question mark. Chief firm. Once I purchased a computer display made in Russia under an Asian license. I threw away 30 electronic parts like ballast, capacitors, high-frequency filters, surge controllers, and etc. Its power supply was not redoable in principle. I had to create a new one for the screen. Finally, Asian reps offered me $10,000 for the remastered version of the screen, which new cost $150. Magazine. Do you recommend to use a notebook, desk station, or tablet as an expert? Chief of firm. I recommended to use a pencil, scrap of paper, and a rubber eraser. These analogous devices don't lie. A main problem of our modern world is total lie, swindle, fraud. Everyone competes with others in fraud and hustle, where I prefer honest approach, faithful attitude, and conscience. These qualities are in the good light now, everywhere. Magazine. Do you liaise with the US computer makers? Chief of firm. They must hear how I swear when our roof windows are open. We, though, are still able to shut it by metal sheets where field-up cats may climb up on our roof when we're on the holidays. Magazine. Do they pet cats? Chief of firm. They do when facing adversary disclosure. We thought we could come out on some findings to make a bit sugar. They sent us paper ad, leaflets, or fire extinguishers that were spammed into our outdoors mailbox. Creative sleazeballs. Magazine. Do you spin off the main course? Did you spin off the main course? Chief firm. No, I'm not fond of a blaze at dawn. Sorry for such conformism. Magazine. Truly faithful interview, sir. I really appreciate that. Hello again. We've got to see what is the second feuilleton for today is. That is counted as a 353 and is since July 2017. It is scheduled as a fictional interview of a director of a Peruvian counterintelligence to Zimbabwe Sport magazine. And it's called How to Catch Mr. Trump? So again, not as a completely fictional or fictitious material, and it has nothing to do with the reality, and it does not pretend or purport to be any kind of a mutual resemblance to reality. And if you find any, that is a total coincidence, and that shall not be regarded anyhow as something intended. This feuilleton was written by me, Andrei, Hamster Shatalov, and has not been laid out as like I said at the beginning of our session today, and then is expected to be published and disclosed in the Zimbabwe Sport magazine next week on Monday. Magazine. Hello. As the chief incumbent in the area of Peruvian state security, you must know some surprising facts about international relations and furtive efforts that many countries take to spoil oneself life. What is the most dangerous alien covert operation that happened within the last decade in Peru? Director of Peruvian counterintelligence. Oh, that was an attempt of a foreign invasion by several countries that was planned and performed towards considerable degree prior to we discovered that. Magazine. What was the main idea how to interfere into Peruvian affairs? Director of Peruvian counterintelligence. To set up large cocaine production and refineries in Peruvian jungle in Amazon region. Then to find it, accuse Peruvian politicians are doing such forbidden and awful business. Later, to come in by force under pretense that such coalition had no vile motive or intention except for struggle with drugs, where Peru was an actual citadel of modern narcotics production. Magazine. What kind of countries did plot against Peruvian independence? That is my opinion. Director of the Peruvian Counterintelligence says. That's my opinion. Italy, US, Russia, Great Britain, France, Spain, India, and Morocco. Magazine. I understand why such famous historical aggressors may be interested or intend to invade Peru, but why Morocco? Question. Director. This country has been the main cannon fodder through 2 last decades in South America. The same dynamics is found in Bolivia, Ecuador, and Paraguay. Magazine. Whose usual fodder are they? Question. Director. They could answer this question yourself. You could answer this question yourself by recalling World's map, Spain's. Magazine. How far did the villains move forward? Question. Director. This was, like I said, halfway implemented. Magazine. Let's talk about the USA. Were the states a chief planner of this operation? Question. Director. Yes, it were. Magazine. Who of a bunch of our regular actors was its practical engineer? Question. Director. The CIA. Magazine. Was this compromise operation to be followed by open foreign invasion, a first pilot project that they began historical? Question. Director. No. Magazine. May you clue us about other cases? Question. Director. They used to assist cocaine dealers before they turned out to be super rich, what must have looked from a side position, as it was seen by third parties as innocent drawbacks our missions and struggle and crackdown on cocaine distribution. However, now they agents penetrated Amazon region, where we were seen at full height in each applicable interpretation and sense. Plus, we discovered that they conducted analogous operations in some other countries where set up the same trap for their national governments. Magazine. Where else? Question mark. Director. Brazil, Bolivia, and Venezuela. I couldn't figure out many years why gringos are so sure that they had the right to pound Venezuela by massive airstrikes. They insisted that Chavez and Maduro had gigantic cocaine production. No evidence was ever disclosed to prove this accusation, though the USA continued to apply a very methodical, vulgar, brazen pressure on Venezuela. We started to think that their minds stuck after a few years of fruitless efforts to knock out Venezuelan independence. Yet, this year's discoveries were shocking. There were huge cocaine productions in Venezuela, what its leaders, elite, and government had no way to learn or know of. Magazine. This last statement seems to be really contentious. Please, try to persuade any expert that such totalitarian regime as Venezuelan missed how smart and sleazy CIA spoofs built up cocaine fields and plants that were spread on thousands of acres. Director. Have you ever visited Amazon region? Magazine. Whatever you're gonna say about how it is jungle, marsh, crocodiles and anacondas may not scare off government stowaways and snitches, who always have a million motives each to drum out their favorite sequence, what would immediately trigger an intense power surge and persecution operation by Venezuelan force, taking into account their continuing face-off on Caribbeans. I tend to miss your arguments. I truly believe that a local government can't be unaware of such things unless it's something like the house that Soviets arranged in Afghanistan and 80s, which really possessed little powers to only control Kabul and its outskirts. Director. This was done very professionally. By colonies of foreign immigrants, NAPS obtained Peruvian and other citizenship by force that was applied through many very sophisticated and very expensive ways. I tell you my utmost and sincere truth that Peruvian security and defense organizations really underestimated CIA qualification, powers, agency skills, ability to conduct covert operations in our deep rear, where most of our Lima residing incumbents never were. They really arranged for sufficient cocaine production on our territory, what did not pop out only due to some lucky circumstances that interfered into the conspiracy. Did pop out. Excuse me. Magazine. I appreciate people with such great and unlimited dedication who are ready to admit anything, even stigmatizing them by nature of such confessions, in order to save clients' reputation and standing. Director. Oh, okay, thank you. Do you wish to visit secret areas on the multi-tier tropic forest to personally watch the preparations and field instruments? Are you interested to have a dialogue with many detainees who were grilled there while we're all smeared by cocaine crumbs and other? Magazine. Don't you tell me that they cooperate with Peruvian law enforcement where such revelations could cost them dimers and lifers? Director. These facts and findings could cost them guaranteed 17 yards down. Yet, they chose to live under a witness protection status. Magazine. Well, I will find you 1,000 thugs who stabbed and slashed their moms to death, who would fess up in John Kennedy assassination and a mortal attempt on a Roman Pope, should you tell them about a discount rep. Director. They are Americans, Native Americans who graduated from CIA Academy, DEA Academy, and other similar law enforcement institutions. They are bilingual but speak Spanish with evident accent. Do such native officers rave widely on how their CIA ordered them to visit Venezuela, Peru, and other destinations to crack up cocaine production? Do you mean this? Director. Yes, that's it. They come out on long, lengthy, and deliberate details how they set up the cocaine refineries in Amazon jungle. They recollect and testify with thousands of facts, details, names, other important information what would be impossible to torpedo should you face such confession in a court of law during one's trial. Magazine. Do they say who ordered the operation? Director. They all testify against the president. Magazine. Yet, this rally may be at times harsher on him as any swap or bullshit that has been collected on his Ukraine flops. Are they telling that the president was a top commander who ordered the CIA to set up the refineries in order to erase the local governments? Director. Yes, they do say these things. All such expressions are protocols signed by them and their attorneys. Magazine. Have you tried to prosecute the president? Director. Of course we realize that we lacked powers to investigate and enforce these charges against the USA. We conscious of the ICC, International Criminal Court, as a tool for such cases after it was convened under the Roman Treaty of 2006. Magazine. May you tell me what progress has been reached in the ICC? Director. They used an arrest warrant they issued an arrest warrant in the name of the head of the White House administration. Magazine. Do you mean the president? Director. Yes. Magazine. Does this stand for that you will be immediately arrested? Shall you come in the main UN headquarters building in New York, New York? Director. Yes. Alright. It means that. Magazine. What is it going to happen if the UN can't catch him before his term expires? Question mark. This one or next one, if any? Question mark. Director, any organized mass production of heavy narcotics is interpreted as a war crime under the Roman Treaty of 2006. This means that he will be hunted down till he is caught. Magazine. Did you contact him requirement to arrive and give up himself to the UN? Question mark. Director, the ICC marshals did. He is keeping silent. Magazine. He is attorneys? Question mark. Director, they are keeping silent too. Magazine. Is he out of your reach in the USA? Question mark. Director, he is out of reach for the UN and its International Criminal Court. We could try to detain him if we were asked officially by the ICC. Magazine. Have you been asked? Question mark. Director. No. Magazine. Do you believe, based upon your profound knowledge of the case and evidence therein, that is guilty? He is guilty. Question mark. Director, he is guilty and he is a war criminal. You must answer for his deeds. Question mark. Period. Magazine. Why did he command such reciprocally dangerous, let's rephrase it, as a recklessly pondered order to the CIA? Question mark. Director. Because they set him up. He could discern the trap, but was too naive and thick-skinned to feel how smart and very artful US bureaucrats were who won this round against them. Magazine. Can he, while he continues in the office, to punish tricksters? Question mark. Director. He can do this as a bull in a china shop, but lacks grounds to beat up the CIA armed with well-substantiated arguments. Magazine. How? What do you think? This may have occurred? Question mark. Director. They told him about what could happen should we find the assets, hot assets, but he took a risk. This was his personal executive decision, where he had understood, or must have understood, what could have happened if the scheme goes wrong. Magazine. Why did they say that he was set up by his aides? Question mark. What did you say that he was set up by his aides? Question mark. Director. Because they are 1,000 times better at him at espionage and investigation. They must have warned him that chances for success are very low. Recall how you smiled at me and sneered on my first words that the CIA deployed vast cocaine production in our jungle. Remember how did you say that it was impossible to do it, as sooner or later a squealer would turn the guts out. This argument of yours was hard to bounce off. Now try to think that what may have been other motives for espionage masterminds in actors to daredevil on such cocaine deployments? Question mark. Didn't this whole Moshgate fiasco was solely about how it was conspired and calculated as a great ponderous hard stumble from the very beginning? Question mark. Magazine. Who are other fugitives now wanted but the ICC? Question mark. Director. That moment, CIA director and his deputy, who supervised the operation. Magazine. When did this operation start? Question mark. During this presidential term or a previous one? Question mark. Director. Everything was ready before he became the Oval Office holder. However, the former holder did not waive the charge by reasons we have no idea about. Magazine. What do you qualify as outset of this attack? Question mark. Director. When the CIA officers dressed and pretended as Christian missionaries brought in equipment. Magazine. Let me reiterate what I just got but can't believe my ears. Saints were the actors. Question mark. Director. Yes. Magazine. Protestants. Americans. Director. Both. Magazine. Did they explain why? Question mark. Director. To kill the devil and his demons. Magazine. So I understand that they say that they did not eventually plan to sell the dope? Question mark. They are sick on our compassion, saying that it was done just to exist, but not to spam. Yes, question mark? Director, yes, you're right. Magazine, do the saints testify? Question mark. Director, yes, they do. Magazine, is the accelerated abdication of Evo Morales, the former president of Bolivia, connected anyhow to the Marchgate? Question mark. Director, no, it is connected to his 4 terms in office, what was minded by many as excessive arbitrariness and tyranny. Magazine, do the saints say who was the devil they wished to eliminate? Question mark. Director, they say that there was Chavez, Morales, Maduro, Humala, and some other politicians collectively called the devil and his demons. Magazine, well, I can't ask all things I wish, as we have run out of time. Many thanks, sir.